I kind of need to. All right, go ahead.
All right.
You good? We good.
All right, here we go.
Gentlemen's Guide.
Yo, it's the Gentleman's Guide podcast where we seek to unpack manhood one day at a time. We back with another episode, hot topic, man. It's gonna be a good conversation we got today. What we talk about today, Sadie, man?
Man, it's like you said, man. I think it's gonna be a dope conversation, man. What we're gonna dive into, is really what the previous generation family in the black community, what did they value most? What did they cherish most? And unpack that, and that is gonna lead into even deeper conversation. Where you and our generation come into play, man. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really wanna pick your brain on it, man. Because our family are very similar in many different ways. So I'm definitely intrigued to see how you think about it and how you feel about it.
Yeah. So just to get it started, and just to preface before we kind of dive into the nooks and crannies of the conversation. For the folks who really don't know who we are and where we from, just to give y'all context, we both grew up in the South. We got ties, we got some family up north, but we primarily grew up down south in North Carolina. We both essentially grew up in the black church community. Me specifically, I grew up in a family church where my grandfather was the pastor majority of my life. My brother kind of took over at some point. And that's a whole nother conversation, but just to give y'all context, and you can kind of further explain your specific personal perspective.
And
but just give people context who's listening and watching.
Very similar. My family, most of my family is in New York, but I grew up primarily in the South. So right. Back and forth between North Carolina and North Carolina and New York. And I am my family is originally from Tarboro, North Carolina. Okay. Princeville, to be more specific, for the individuals that know Edgecombe County. So deep roots in the South, man. Very, very familiar with a lot of things with when it comes to I guess black
familiar traditions, I would say, so to speak.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was going.
Generational sort of.
Generational traditions.
Yeah, norms. Essentially the same thing. Yeah.
So I think that leading to that is probably where we're gonna get into the conversation at. Based upon your, I guess, childhood. What were some of the things that your family was high praise on, put forth as a priority, and so forth.
The priority, it was certainly God first, family. Everything else is after family. What we were taught growing up was God ordained the family first. It's God, family, and then whatever institution you want to put in below that. Some people put sports, whatever, whether it be baseball, football. Some people put, other institutions such as the actual business of church, because some people, they love that aspect of it. So growing up, it was certainly God first, family was right under there, and then you kind of get your basic morals and principles of life from the structure of the church.
Got it. Okay. What were some of the basic principles and morals that you stood on, that your family stood on?
I would say it's one thing that sticks with me, and this is really a testament to my mother, my grandfather, my grandmother. Pray without ceasing, and everything is up to interpretation when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to religion. For me personally, how I interpret that, because pray without ceasing, I'm not about to give you at what point in the Bible that is, because I'm not a Bible thumper. I don't read my Bible like that. This is keep it real. That's just that's me. If Gerard was up here, I'd be like, hey, bro, what?
Gerard can tell you exactly
what verse You know what I'm saying? Gerard, that's who he is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Love
But
my brother, man.
yeah, love him, man. For me, I know Pray Without Ceasing specifically for me. And please, if you're watching, if you're listening right now, give us your interpretation, because perspective is everything. For me, I take that as whatever you have your mind set on. Obviously, you want to seek God in all that you do. That's one thing that I was taught. But also pray without ceasing, meaning like I view that as a form of meditation, right?
Yeah.
So like when you, and I haven't studied other religions on a deep level, but what I do know is other religions, you meditate. And different religions may call it different things. Like my mom said, she had a little prayer corner, you know what I'm saying? Or like the mothers in the church, or, you got your prayer room, or like you got certain things that people did. But pray without ceasing, essentially, let me stop rambling, is to me a form of meditation. So like,
okay.
Or what you say, manifestation, right?
Okay. Okay.
I do believe that we are all extensions of God, just like Jesus was. He was he was God in the flesh, and we were made in His image. And so to me, there's a piece of God in all of us. And it's up to us to trust what you call, the spirit, or I would say some form of intuition, something that you don't even have to think about that's right or wrong. You just know. Like, how do you know things are right and something's wrong? That's an internal thing that believe we all have inside of us. Now, obviously, things have to be nurtured over time, and so you can gain more understanding. But pray without ceasing means like meditation. You are focusing your manifestation, your thoughts on a specific thing. If people say, yeah, I'm praying for you, you know what I'm saying? You may say things out of your mouth, but you can also say things in your spirit too. So that's like a form of meditation. You're meditating, you're focusing your energy toward this thing, whatever it may be. But go ahead.
So, with those principles and morals, who was the I guess the individual that instilled those principles and morals into the family, into into the family, then it trickled down from generation to generation.
Oh yeah, generation. Without a doubt, my grandfather. I mean that's
okay.
You ask anybody in the community that we grew up, they knew him outside of the church. They knew him to be a pillar. He was a pillar of the community. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But for the family, yeah, he was the one that taught us hard work. When it comes to work, like, I don't mind getting dirty. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, is it my preference? Not really. You know what I'm saying? But I know what it is to do labor, to work in. We worked in the garden. He had animals. We would help him feed the animals. You know what I'm saying? We pulling watermelons. We picking corn. He grew everything.
Right.
Potatoes, everything. So it was always something to do at grandma and granddaddy house, because he essentially lived off the land for the most part. Like, obviously, he wasn't like off the grid or anything, but a lot of his sustenance came from the work that he put in on the land. Yeah.
His own labor.
For sure. And we learned that.
So, with that being said, your foundation and family and morals that you now have is now 3 generations prior.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
I'm 2 generations.
No, I say 3 because of your kids.
Oh, true. I ain't see. Yeah. Right.
So,
right.
the values and morals that your grandfather had is now 3 generations.
Exactly.
Removed from, the beginning of that.
Yeah.
From what you know. So, leading into today's conversation, what do you think has changed? What change has come from what your grandfather has taught you versus now?
So, are you asking me to come from a personal standpoint, or just like a general generational standpoint, or like
generational? Let's talk generational now.
I'm sure there are multiple things.
Yep.
The thing that I've seen, at least a lot on social media in the last 5 to 10 years, is a lot of millennials, or people born in I want to say mid 80s to mid 90s, like that threshold. Those people are essentially us now, and we are all the folks who have kids and or young kids, I would say. I believe our generation, a lot has changed politically, and also when I say politically, I also mean a lot more people question everything now, right?
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely.
with questioning things in general, religion falls into one of those things,
Right.
because we are in the age of information, right? So like people question everything, even my 7 and 6 year old. I mean, they are so much smarter than we were at that age.
Yeah.
Because the information is everything's at their fingertips. They're being fed all this stuff daily. You know what I'm saying? But what I think, I believe when people start to question, they go through the mental gymnastics of faith and religion, and how and I even I've been struggling with this my whole life in terms of you got to have faith, but I have a very logic based mind, and I fight that with it doesn't naturally line up with faith. Faith is like you just believe because you believe. I'm like, it's hard for me to do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of people in our generation who think somewhat similarly. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, you're doing all these mental gymnastics to rationalize certain things, not all things, because at a base level, I believe God is real. I believe Jesus was real, and I believe not every single story that happened in the Bible is 100% true, because it's been translated from multiple languages over thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? And that's like playing phone. You know how that go. Certain details get put in, left out. Just like now when you're dealing with politics and age of information, people try to control the narrative with misinformation, certain things that may seem a certain way, people interpret it one way, and then it all gets flipped around, and certain words mean different things. 10 years, like it's a whole bunch of confusion. So I feel like at the core, yes, Jesus existed, I believe, or the Messiah existed. I believe God is real. I believe we are all like extensions of God. And I know we probably didn't mean to go so deep into the religious aspect, but that's just the thoughts that are running through my brain. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
So I think one of the things, and that we can harp on, or really dive into, when we go back to the beginning of our family, and generate like 3 and 4 generations prior, what they established, being the monarchy of a family, and starting that religion and tradition. What are some of the things that they focused on, and created, and traditionally.
Right, I got you. Before we go too far, I got you. So it just clicked for me. Another thing that really has changed for our generation is access to what I call quote unquote McDonald's money. We ain't rich.
Okay. Right.
We ain't rich, but we doing much better than how we grew up. There's a lot of people our age who are doing way better than how they grew up. And with that, I believe it's like a subconscious of, all right, let's look at it on the flip side. When our grandparents were kids and going through Jim Crow and all these things,
barely survived.
They were in survival mode, like we mentioned in the generational curses episode.
Right.
Y'all go check that out. But they were in survival mode. So the one thing that you could most of the time could cling to was God. And I'm not saying don't cling to God. What I'm saying is, when you at your deepest, darkest moment and you don't see no way out, what else would you do but cling to this thing that you can't necessarily see or feel? It's not tangible, but you can believe in it because it gives you hope, because ain't no hope around you. You know what I'm saying?
So with that hope, where and when did most of the hope and that reignition of hope, reigniting the hope, when did that happen? And I don't want you to think about it, too hard.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, majority of the time we're talking about, being thriving in the church. We're talking about, folk in 3 and 4 generations prior, a lot of their time was spent in the church,
Mm-hmm.
mostly on Sunday.
Yeah.
I think where we want to go with this conversation is with our generation. Well, I'm not even gonna say our generation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, our generation. Um, we grew up having Sunday dinners where
Yeah.
that realignment and that refocus in the family
Mm-hmm.
started, is generated to start that work
To start
week,
the new week.
to,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to start that new work week,
Yeah.
and to start that uh and to reignite our focus,
No. Yeah. You're right.
to what it is that our ultimate goal is. So the topic of today, now that we're giving you the folks at home a background of where we're going, the topic of our conversation is what happened to Sunday's dinner
Yeah.
in the Black community.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
And I have a few ideas
Go ahead.
of one, and I think it kind of really starts with one, what you were just talking about is those the grandfathers and the greats and the grandparents and the great grandparents are are no longer
They're
here,
dying off. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
to hold the families together. So that's where one it started from. But at the same time, when they're leaving this earth, um, also comes a lot of the leaving their traditions that they started.
Yeah.
Um, and that's unfortunate sometimes, but at the same time, some of their traditions wasn't all the way what's the word I'm looking for? Conducive to one's mental, maybe spiritual,
You're right. And
but maybe it wasn't
yeah.
conducive to the mental.
Yeah.
And I think in our generation,
Yeah.
what is happening is we're realizing that a lot of traditions and a lot of things and a lot of people is not conducive to our souls, but it was originated around Sunday dinner.
And religion,
So
religion and Sunday dinner, I would say, but kind of a
so
combination of the
so
two.
it's yes, but no.
Okay.
In my experience.
Okay.
So I think Sunday, how it was set up. We'd go to church. My mom didn't go to the same church that she grew up in.
Cool.
We went to a different church.
Mm-hmm.
But after church service, 1:30, we'd go to my grandmother's house.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we, would gather,
Right.
as a family.
Yeah.
And like most families, there's love, and there can be some tension, but no one ever talked about it. No one ever discussed it. No one ever,
Yeah.
but as you get older, you start to realize, like, hey, this
This ain't right.
There's some tension in the air.
Yeah.
Some tension in the air. So and then the more you realize, the more you see Sunday dinner isn't what Sunday dinner used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's Sunday dinner is now filled with uh uh anything but love, in which it was generated from generations before.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really the one aspect. Also, I think we're getting as we get older, we're becoming more conscious with who we are as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just piggies back on what we were just talking about. We're in tune with who we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're in tune with what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
And
Even if the wrong is coming from those that we love dearly.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to Sunday's dinner. A lot of things that we surrounded ourselves with was we gathered every Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, but if this gathering every Sunday is more hurtful than it is helpful,
mm-hmm.
what is one to do now that we're in a position to
fend for ourselves.
make
So to speak.
decisions,
Yeah.
make decisions for ourselves.
Yeah.
Um,
What I will
so
say, what I will say to your point when you brought up the mental aspect, going back to my first point or one of my first points about the age of information, with more information comes more language. And what I mean by that is we now have, as a community, we have language to call out certain things that may not be conducive to, you know, our mental
absolutely.
being what it needs to be.
I had oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm just saying, like, therapy is not taboo anymore, right?
It's not. It's not.
Maybe to some, like, it's always going to be a spectrum, as I always say in life. Life is a spectrum, but generally speaking, our generation, I would say, is one of the first generations to, like, have language to kind of speak up for yourself, even if, you know,
it goes against the grain
of
what
we were taught. What we were taught when it comes from, because, like I said, religion is religion, but also you gain a certain level of what's right and what's wrong that may not be somewhat spiritual or somewhat religious. It's just like, you know, respecting your elders and what the elders viewed as disrespect versus
let's talk about it.
Versus this generation. You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Calling out is disrespect. It's like, nah, bro, this ain't disrespect. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
I'm so passionate about what you just said right now. I don't know if you can see it in my face.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about it because I have this debate. Oh man, I literally just had this debate not too long ago, where it's being stated, hey, you know, I'm gonna paint the picture.
Sure. Go ahead. Story time.
If you don't, in the old generation, if you don't like or get along with a elder, then, you know, that's looked at as disrespect. You're disrespecting me. You're disrespecting me. So the debate that I was having, you know, with a, you know, older generation was, hey, we're now in a place where respect is a two-way street.
Exactly. I'm an adult now.
It's not only am I an adult, it should have been when I was a child as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, you know, it's a two-way street. It's no longer, you know, what you're saying is disrespectful if I'm calling you out on something that's detrimental to me.
Right.
If I'm telling you, hey, you know, what you're saying to me is it makes me feel some type of way. That's not disrespect to you. That's in the hindsight respecting me.
Right. Yeah.
I'm demanding respect for myself by not allowing you to talk to me any type of way.
Yeah. That you may not be aware of it.
You may not be aware of it. And I'm not saying anything disrespectful. I'm just saying I respect myself enough to let you know that that's not okay.
Right.
But the older generation, what they would do is they would expect the younger generation to stand there and take it and take it and take it. And if they spoke out on it, they would condemn them for it.
Yeah. How dare you, you know?
How dare you speak back on me?
Yeah.
How dare you tell me that I can't say this? How dare you do this? When in actuality, hey, I'm just telling you that something you're saying is hurting me. You know, it's and it sounds it sounds crazy to say, but it's not.
But you know what it all goes back to? Accountability.
And a lot of generations before don't know what accountability is.
Yeah. So
go back to the Sunday dinner. You know, now we're at Sunday dinner and we're seeing all this, and we're seeing, you know, Auntie say, wait your turn. You can't eat right now. Go sit over there. You're 20 years old. Go sit over there with the kids. Don't talk out of turn. Hey, whoa. I'm 20. I'm 25. What do you mean? You know what?
Yeah. Y'all got
I don't want to be around. I don't want to be around this. I don't want to be around this because now I'm in a position where, you know, I can make decision on my own, and if that decision just so happens to be at my peace,
hey,
I'm gonna take that any day.
Protect your peace, bro. You know? Now, me personally, I'm sure there were things. It's always like when you're a kid, a lot of things go over your head. So things may have happened where I'm just in my own world because you're a kid, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The transition from childhood to adulthood for me and my brothers, the speaking of like Sunday dinner, like growing up, that was the thing for us. Like, go to church, everybody meet up at grandma and granddaddy house, and all my aunties and uncles, and we eat. You know what I'm saying? It was essentially a family church. It is, yeah. It was some folks there that weren't blood relatives, but the majority of us were all family, right?
And I came quite a few times.
Yeah, for sure. Because we usually had a cookout back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But my point was, going from childhood to adulthood for us, our personal story, or at least I can speak from my perspective, the transition happened gradually as we grew up. So like the older we got, by the time I was graduating high school, we had just built a new building, and that transition it moved from my grandma and granddaddy house, and the Sunday dinner would be at the church every Sunday. So that was the first transition, and all my aunties and uncles and brothers can vouch for this. I'm not making this up, but that was the first transition. Second transition was when my grandfather died.
Okay.
And I say that because since his passing, my grandmother's health is slowly started to get worse and worse and worse. Just over time. There wasn't like a punch or a sudden thing. It was just one thing started happening and one thing started happening, and before you know it, she had to be, in a home because nobody could take care of her. Like nobody could go to work and do this and take care of the kids and take care of her. It was just not feasible.
Yeah.
So she was in a home. She was out there in Wilson for a little bit. Now she's been away from us. It's been a little over a year now. She passed away on Thanksgiving of 2022. Yeah.
It was 22. Yeah.
Cause we're in 24 now, 23. Yeah, Thanksgiving 2022. If I'm not, yeah. But yeah, I'm about to get emotional now. But after that, by the time she was in the nursing home, it was essentially kind of non-existent. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Sunday dinner.
Yeah, Sunday dinner was non-existent. Not because anything crazy happened with regards to like familial dynamics. It was more so, it's just the dynamics
changed.
To
the family, the glue to the family no longer is here.
Well, I wouldn't even say that because our family remains close. Like even during the pandemic, we would have family Zoom calls, bro, just to talk.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
So our family remained close, but the tradition of Sunday dinner just didn't. It was never the same once those two matriarch patriarch. Once they left, things in terms of Sunday dinner just changed.
Yeah.
So that was my side of that conversation, my personal side of that conversation. Yeah, it was interesting. It was just interesting. It was just like I won't say natural, but it was just, you see a dynamic or a phase of life changing in real time. He's like, dang, this ain't what it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Now, like you said, like you were saying earlier, everybody got their different reasons or like things happen in the family and dynamics change for a lot of different reasons.
Dynamics change. Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened with us. You know what I'm saying?
I also want to, give a different perspective as well. And this is something that, is actually that I've been seeing a lot more of, where our generation is no longer looking at the past generations to continue what they've done in the past because it either stopped or it wasn't beneficial for whatever.
Yeah.
So instead of collaborating or being with the, I guess, older generation, what we're doing, we're with our peers now, and we're creating our own traditions.
For sure.
We're creating our own Sunday dinners. We're creating our own.
Friendsgiving is a thing now.
it's a huge thing.
Right.
And I think what we're doing, we miss we miss that.
Mm-hmm.
We wholeheart our generation misses being part of, but we don't miss it enough to put ourselves through, you know,
Dysfunction.
things that dysfunction.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
So instead, we create our own traditions. You know, I remember a few summers ago, QP was having Sunday dinner every Sunday.
Word.
You know, and it very different from our
how you grew up.
grandparents.
Yeah.
Very different from.
But nonetheless, you
had a little
drink.
You know?
Had a little drink.
Grandma didn't want none of that in her house.
Nah, granddaddy, he ain't missing no alcohol. He said he was done with that. He's like, nah. He tell people I used to drink over 2 pints in 8 hours. That was he said I kid. He gave it up years ago.
Yeah. Now my granddaddy
gave his life to the Lord.
He keep his in
Keep
his
it.
Recliner chair. Yeah,
little stash,
you got that little you got that little crease in your recliner right there. That's where he kept his little pint at.
Little pint, yeah.
But grandma didn't want. If it wasn't grandpa, you won't bring no alcohol. But anyway, I say all that to say, Sunday's dinner at QP house is completely different from Sunday dinner that we grew up in.
For sure.
But what we're doing is we're with our generation.
You're communing,
our peers,
man. You're communing,
and we're communing. We're breaking bread. We're with our cousins.
Yeah.
We may not be with our aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
But we're with our cousins. We're creating our own traditions. We're with our friends that is family.
Yep.
And we're creating our own traditions. And we're going through that. We would. I say we, but I don't know who else out there may feel this way, but if it's not for you, don't, family or not, don't go.
Yeah.
Create your own.
Yeah.
And try to have open dialect and communication with the older generation. There those aunties that just don't get it. Why you don't want to be around them. You gotta have those conversations.
It's okay to love people from a distance, man.
It's super okay.
But
I also think the generation thinks it's so disrespectful for not wanting to deal with them.
Yeah.
When y'all have lived in such dysfunction for so long and don't understand this dysfunction, is wild.
Yeah, it's a bit baffling sometimes. Yeah. And again, this is not bashing the previous generation.
No, absolutely not.
It's more so like
realization.
Say it again.
Realization.
Yeah, realization, man. Like the light bulb going off, and I'm trying to bring you to a realization. Like, yo, this has been happening for a long time, and I'm not speaking from experience. I'm just kind of giving a general explanation.
Very general.
Like this is what it is. I'm gonna lay it out for you. This is how it makes me feel. Blase, blase, blah. And if I've seen countless times where the older person in that situation, they'll take offense, even if it's not disrespectful. But sometimes you speaking your truth may indirectly may trigger, a point in time in their life where they may not have been their best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me and my brothers, we've had conversations. We've had conversations with our dad, and he's kind of, like I said, taking accountability for things he may not have done the best. Just like when I was talking about that conversation with Wesley the other day, like as your father, I got to show you that it's okay to take accountability. Like I can own up to something that I that may have caused you, a heartache or pain or sadness or whatever. I can own up to that because in essence, I'm indirectly showing you that it's okay to admit when you're wrong, bro. And that's going back to the generational curses. That's one way to break generational curses is to practice what you preach.
I was having a conversation with somebody older, of course, and the conversation went a little something like this. She's telling me a story, and the story was he had a friend. There was a friend, and this friend's mom got drunk all the time. And you're talking about in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Friend's mom got drunk all the time, and when she got drunk, she was close enough she would go down to the bar close enough to walk home, right? Um, but when she got drunk, she would say mean, vile, evil things to him.
I've heard
Evil,
stories like
evil,
this from friends of
evil
mine. Yeah.
things. Um, and 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 but only thing he could do is just go down there, bring her home, let her sleep it off. When she woke up, she didn't remember any of the words she said
Yeah.
or any of it. So my response to that was, um, hey, that's not normal.
Yeah. It's not okay.
That's not normal. And the response to that was, well, that's your mom. That's his mom.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, title or not, if you make me feel some type of way, because of that, if you're telling me you hate me, you wish I wasn't your son when you're drunk.
That means where these thoughts coming from?
Where
Deep down,
so
like something from like what?
But then when you're sober, you don't remember it, and then this is a constant thing
It's a
over
pattern.
and
Yeah,
over
yeah.
and over and over again.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to make up in your mind that I can no longer do this.
I can't put
And
myself to this.
the rebuttal to that was, well, if something was to happen to her, what if she wasn't making home? I then said, hey, if you love me like you say you do, when you're not drunk, and I tell you what you're saying is hurting me, but you continue to do this thing, I can't be liable for anything because now I have to put myself first.
I gotta protect myself. Yeah, yeah.
I think, and this is just my opinion, I think that the older generation was so worried about what if something negative was to happen, and they felt responsible for those things, that they never got outside their comfort zone of small towns or and a lot of family members stayed home,
but
or they didn't take advantage of opportunities. Or they didn't go away to college.
But yeah, oh man, you just triggered something in me.
So
oh man,
because of the trauma in which they had to stay home and watch over their parents, which would have been our grandparents
or their siblings. Look, listen, you talking about that piece that you just mentioned? That's a piece of my grandfather's childhood, bro. He was the oldest son, so he was born in 1939, bro. So I think
he had to take care of the family.
When he came to a certain age, he couldn't go to school no more. I think he had at most, I want to say 8th grade. I could be giving him a few more grades than what he actually, but yeah, he never went to high school. He never went, like, he was the oldest son. He had to go to work. You know what I'm saying? So when you no, real quick, I want to go a little bit.
Okay, yeah,
further.
no, for sure, go. Do your thing.
No, I'm just want to mention this last little tidbit. But going back to the general conversation, that was my grandfather's part of my grandfather's story. But the general conversation is survival. Who do you need for survival? Your family, bro.
Yeah.
So when you need something for survival, you get used to putting up with dysfunction because you're in survival.
That you need them.
That's what I'm saying.
You need them.
That's what I'm saying. So that's like a prime. That's like a prime equation to well, not equation. That's a what am I looking for? That's the perfect recipe for passing down generational curses. You see what I'm saying? Because it starts out as, I need this person for survival, right? And then these actions that you do all the time, you put up with, and then once you have kids, your kids may not have seen the trauma that you went through, but they see your actions. So these behaviors are passed down. That's how it happens, bro. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's how it happens. So even furthermore, I know you about to, but my brain keep going.
No, go do your thing, bro.
But even further, when people say, generational trauma, that's essentially how generational trauma is passed down, right? You put your kids are carrying the weight. Like a lot of us black people, descendants of Americans of African slaves that were taken from their homes in Africa, we indirectly carry the weight of the trauma that our ancestors went through because of the actions that happened after the trauma was experienced. You see what I'm saying? So like,
right.
And there's an actual scientific component to that, but I can't speak to that because I ain't no scientist. But in terms of nature versus nurture, like all these behaviors, whatever they may be, good or bad, are passed down indirectly. But go ahead.
You're I said this earlier, but you're 3 generations removed. No, you're 1 generation removed from survival.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah. Well,
your grandfather, born in 1939, had to drop out and survive.
Yeah.
The oldest of all his siblings, survival.
Well,
So
he was the oldest son. He wasn't.
Oh.
Wait. Dang, I'm losing track. It was a few of them. But go ahead.
So that survival,
mm-hmm.
that passed down to your dad and your parents.
Mm-hmm.
They survived, but they started to build.
Mm-hmm.
Follow me. You took what you learned the survival.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're building on what they built, and
Yeah.
your kids are now able to receive everything that you survived, built on.
Mm-hmm.
So only thing they got to do is take off. So you're 1 generation from survival.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is crazy. Which is crazy when you don't have to live in survival, when you don't have to live in trauma, when you don't have to live in dysfunction,
mm-hmm.
when you don't and we our generation, you and I have to live through that. So now it goes back to what I'm saying. We don't want to be around that dysfunction on Sunday dinner.
Mm-hmm.
We're
making general statements, guys.
General statements,
right.
But I don't think that's the only thing that has contributed to Sunday dinner.
Sure.
I think also a different aspect of it is also being able to just retire. So a lot of times, our grandmother was a stay-at-home grandmother. She was retired.
My grandmother never drove, bro. I never saw her drive a day in her life.
So, she was able to, take care of the family as well as, cook Sunday dinner well before church.
Yeah.
Well before church.
Chicken done before church.
Before 10 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
And but now, we have so many things that we have to do, take care of.
Yeah.
Grandparents are getting younger.
Mm-hmm.
And
in most households, both parents have to work, bro, to have a somewhat comfortable life.
So, a lot of times on weekends, you're not in the mood to cook a big, ginormous dinner
mm-hmm.
for 10, 15 people.
Yeah.
Because you just worked.
Listen, bro.
40, 50, 60 hours.
They
did this every Sunday.
Bro, ain't no way. Look, me and Gab, we had a Super Bowl party planned. We were going to invite some.
I was coming.
We were going to, we had family coming over. We had friends. We had quite a few people coming over.
Yes, sir.
About a week before, I said, Gab, I ain't up for it.
Yeah.
And she felt the same way because she's a great host. Don't get me wrong, but she does not really care to host. If that makes sense, because when you host stuff at your house, you gotta maintain the house,
bruh.
I know because I know you, but like when these niggas leave your house, bruh,
y'all
you got
know I be
cleaning
hosting.
up.
You gotta clean up.
Make sure your little cousins ain't tearing up your house. You gotta answer all these questions. Where's this? Where's the Wi-Fi? I'm like, and don't get me wrong, I love my family. I love my friends. But the act of being a host, like some people love it. I love
hosting.
Like my sister-in-law, she loves hosting. Like it's just she loves like being hospitable. Like some people are just
Really?
like, yeah, she's naturally like just gifted at
I don't know
certain
why
things.
I don't know why I say that. I don't know why I say that.
Bro,
I don't know.
you know, and don't get me wrong, just because you're good at something don't mean you like it. Like Gab is good at it, but it takes a lot out of her because she's such an introvert. Socially, it's like her social media goes up real fast, and it's like I don't. When people leave, she's like, I don't want to talk. Just leave me alone.
I love hosting. I'm a social individual. I can work a room like no other.
Yeah,
but
it's different when it's your house though. But go ahead. Go ahead.
I host it. I don't
no, you're
mind
right.
hosting.
Yeah, you're
at the house.
right.
You know, I always tell y'all to come.
Yeah, for sure.
But think about it like this: every Sunday.
That's a lot, man. That's crazy.
Hosting Sunday dinner at your house.
Mm-hmm.
Every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how my grandmother did it. Yeah. I don't. Tip my hat off to her. My grandparents, tip my hat off to them.
Now it wasn't like for us. It was we had multiple contributors. Like, you know, my mom would bring something, auntie bring something. My grandma would cook multiple things, no doubt. But
I don't remember.
It wasn't like it wasn't just my grandma cooking all the time.
I think we did bring my mom. I think my mom did bring stuff, you know, every once in a while. But for the most part, when we got there, we got there about 2:30. Church was out by 1:30. Mm-hmm. You know how after church thing go.
Yeah, be in the parking lot talking.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
So get to my grandmother's house about 2:30. We eat about 3 o'clock. About 3 o'clock. So it wasn't shortly after. So, you know, they'll cook the hot stuff. They'll cook stuff that need to be like cornbread. They cook the cornbread fresh hot.
Yeah. Stuff that
they fry some long. Chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. For the most part, we just got out there and ate.
Yeah.
Meaning my grandmother cooked most of it. But
yeah.
I would love to do something, you know, a little bit more traditional, man. You know, get back to you know the original topic. I would like to do something.
Get the routine down.
Get something in place, man.
I'll be open to
because you know we're coming to a place where, you know, like you said earlier, you know, grandparents are leaving us. You know, our parents are getting older.
Yeah.
So you know, tradition now falling on us, man. So. I would like to do it. I think it just, you know, we're just in a place like you said. You know, it's expensive. It's expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Sunday dinner every Sunday. It's expensive.
Every Sunday, probably. And to that point, what I will say, and I had this conversation with my mother-in-law because, her family came from Jamaica. They have deep roots in Jamaica. Gab's mom's side, her grandmother's side of the family are from the country in Jamaica, and I remember having a conversation with her, and I won't get like it's personal conversation. I won't get into the nooks and crannies, but essentially,
for sure.
Essentially what I was saying was telling her because she was kind of not heartbroken, but kind of sad about like, oh, her grandkids won't experience Jamaica the same way she did. Because of things that I will not mention on camera, right? Mm-hmm. But I told her I was like, just because they don't have the same identical experience as you, doesn't mean that their current experience is not special to them, right? So my point is, you mentioning, you know, every Sunday is too much, because you're probably right. In this day and time, it probably is too much, unless, you know what I'm saying, you got the bandwidth, you got the money. Like in your case, both y'all working. In my case, we both working. Like, we ain't got the time. Plus, we got 3 little kids, bro. Like, we ain't got. I don't understand like how that transpired back then from an adult standpoint. But my point is, just because it's not identical doesn't mean what we can do now wouldn't be as special and as meaningful. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's, you know, through the guise of, you know, religion, or whether it's just for the sake of communing with your kinfolk, whether it's blood or not. I think that's still will always be meaningful. Breaking bread is always the greatest form of love, greatest form of community with not necessarily all like-minded individuals, because we always going to have different perspectives because we're not a monolith. But understanding perspective, because I think that's
I like
important.
that word, by the way.
Yeah. I
like that. Yeah, that was good. Hey, wait. I like that word.
That's that NC State education, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that.
No, but I think that's kind of a good point to end it on. Like, because we don't want to keep y'all too long. Sound like my granddad. I don't want my granddad to say when he was preaching, he was like, I'm coming in. 45 minutes later, I'm coming in. God, come on, granddaddy. God.
Hey,
long
gotta
with
wrap this up, baby.
Come on, man. Dry switched it up. He was good. Dry was good with his times. My granddaddy boy, he would like. Some days he'll cut it. But some day he start feeling something. He just get to talking, bro.
Come on now.
And you can see, look, and when people frustrated because my daddy could control his face, all his emotions on his face. He's like, this nigga. But anyway, my point is, it's breaking bread will always be meaningful.
It's always beautiful.
Whether it's every Sunday, whether it's every other Sunday, whether it's once a month, I think it's still something that families, friends, groups, whatever, that's a tradition that, we all can have some version of. And I think it's still important. Yeah. Go ahead, bro.
I don't want to add to what you just said. And I think, at first I want to address, direct this towards like the older generation. And what we said was not a direct attack on the older generation.
For sure.
You didn't know what you didn't know back then,
right?
And you went through certain things that you may not see as an issue.
Yeah, but two things can be true. Your perspective
can be true,
and we can all,
So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to do, secondly, as well as directed towards them, is to say, hey, we want to come to Sunday dinner. We miss Sunday dinner. It's just in what capacity is that gonna be? And thirdly, I just want to say to our generation is just figure out what works for you, man.
Yep.
We gotta carry the torch from for our kids, from our our parents, our grandparents. We got to carry the torch forward. So I think it's important for us to start thinking about and having those conversations with one, ourselves, and two, our loved ones and kids, and what they see fit for how we want to create a tradition. Do we feel like bringing traditions in from past generation in, or do we feel like creating new ones? And really communicate that across the family.
Yeah.
My dad said something to me the other day that's really been sticking to me. He said, you don't want to not know who your family is. The more individuals start to pass away,
and the more kids you have,
the more kids they have, then it starts to get divided.
Yeah. Yep.
So really, we really got to do a better job at that. And I know we all are caught up on everyday life. And life was so life comes at you fast. So
life be lifing, bro.
I think those are three things I want to end the today's topic on, man. This is so dope, and it was on my heart to have this what happened to family Sunday dinner conversation. Because like you said, life is short, and
yep. Because I be telling my boys, go ahead.
There's so many rich traditions that we have that may not get picked up. So how do we keep those rich traditions going, but also incorporate newer versions of that? For sure, 100%, wholeheartedly agree. I was about to go on another spiel, but I was like, we good. I think we can end it on that. So appreciate y'all tuning into the Gentleman's Guide podcast. This is another very deep, meaningful conversation I think we needed to be had. Yeah.
And
let us know, man. Let us know what y'all think, man. We say it all the time. We're here for, we're here to have conversations from our perspective, but also, we're here for y'all. So we want to hear from y'all. We're very active, in the comments, DMs, let us know. Reach out to us. All that, man.
All right, man.
B, I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, transparency and honesty, bro. Again, another episode, man. Love you, brother.
Yeah, love you too, bro. Same to you, man. All right,
yes,
bro.
Sir.
Gentleman's Guy, we out. Appreciate you.
Out.